to prove it. We ask the same 5 questions every week, providing you with chewable bits of expertise. I'm your host, Katie McEwen, the procurement girl, representing BuyerQuest, the most user-friendly procurement solution in the world. I'm excited to introduce you to our rockstar guest today. It's Martin Sturla from Unisys. He's a CPO there and has been for quite a long time. Thank you so much for joining us today, Martin.
Thank you very much, Katie. It's a pleasure to be here. I'll correct you. I no longer with Unisys, but I did have a 21-year career with Unisys. So I'll tell you a little bit about that, as we go along.
Perfect. Well, great. I'm excited to learn about what you're doing now and your vision. And
Sure.
So tell me about your current role and what your focus is right now.
So first of all, my name is, as you said, Martin Sturla. I'm born and raised in Argentina. That's where I started my professional career. So I did my education, my college degree and MBA down in Argentina. And then eventually in 2004, about 16 years ago, I relocated to Louisville, Pennsylvania, to the United States, of course, through Unisys as part of my career development plan. So I had a 21 intense and very rewarding career with Unisys, where I most recently served as a chief procurement officer for 6 years. I'm now taking some, I think, well-deserved time off. So I did have the privilege of leading an incredibly talented team of, almost 100 professionals deployed in 20 plus countries. It was a pretty fun ride. I used my time off to visit my friends and family in Argentina. I was lucky enough to be able to get out and back into the country before the pandemic hit with full force. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster because I went with my entire family. So as I said, I relocated with my wife and my 3 kids, back in 2004. And so now I'm ready for my next adventure. So I'm having conversation with colleagues and friends and professional networks. So I'll let you know what my next adventure looks like.
Yeah, that's exciting
I
though.
keep you
But
posted.
it's so important though to focus on your family and to just take that break. I mean, 21 years you dedicated to that organization, and that had to be a very stressful job. So to just be able to take a beat and go back to your homeland and visit your family,
It was awesome.
That's
Especially
so
it
awesome.
was summertime down there, so I kind of skipped what it was still a mild winter, but it was nice to take a month off and just go down there and spend some time with
For
the
sure.
family and friends.
Yeah, it's a great way to reset. And a lot of times when we take those breaks is when our greatest ideas come. So it's kind of been the benefit of this COVID, is having that time to be creative. So that's great. So Martin, I'm curious, who was that one person that strongly inspired you in your road to success? Who was that mentor or that coach or that boss or maybe even a parent that really inspired your path?
So that's a loaded question. If I have to single out one person, for sure, but my dad has been always a guiding light to me. I would say my brother has been always a source of inspiration for me. He's a year older than me, and we had very similar experiences. And that year apart between us has reflected in many aspects of our both of our careers. First of all, he's in the supply chain and procurement, kind of related. Obviously, he graduated a year before I did, and he took his first job in a multinational European company, Unilever, where he had a very successful career. And I took mine a year after his, and also in a European multinational in Ferrero. He did an MBA a year before I did. So, and then he relocated to the UK with his family, as part of his career. And then a year before I did, but to the US. So in many ways, he was always a step ahead of me. So he always had this word of advice to me. So what it's like to work for a multinational company, the ins and outs of an international relocation with very young kids, which it's quite an experience, how to navigate the corporate world. So I would say my brother for sure. And now, as for peers and colleagues and bosses, yes, I did certainly receive guidance and advice from many of them. But I think I kind of cherry picked my sources of inspiration. I get tips and elements from people that I consider successful and I admire. But for the most part I've been always pretty self-confident and true to myself, and for certainly I never tried to imitate or become a person that I'm not. So what I did pay attention to is try to pay attention to people that it's very unpopular or very very difficult to deal with. At least you learn what not to do, especially in multinational companies. So I think it's a combination of people, but it worked for me.
Yeah, obviously. Obviously. Yeah, it's awesome that you had your brother to just kind of lead the way for you and just be able to kind of follow in suit and have that. I'm sure Thanksgivings and
Yeah, he was
Christmas
taking
would
the
always.
bullet and I was following right behind.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you had
good
plenty to
coverage.
always talk to. Yes, exactly. Now, do you guys have like outside hobbies that you all have in common? Like, do you golf together or?
I would say motorcycle. We like motorcycles, different kind. I like sport bikes, and he likes more of a off-road type of thing. Well, actually, I do off-road too, but yeah, motorcycles is something that we share in common. Then music too. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome. Do you play an instrument?
I play piano, and he plays piano and bass, and his son has a band. He plays drums, and so plays with his son. That's pretty cool. My
That
kids
is
don't,
so
but
cool.
well, actually, my youngest one is playing saxophone. But so yeah, it's kind of the music has been something common in the family. My father was a violin player, and so yeah, that and motorcycling, I would say two things that are very common.
You are a rock and rolling
Uh,
motorcycle riding CPO. I think you're the first I've ever met. That's so cool. I love that. So what would you say is the most innovative thing you're seeing in the space, maybe in the last 12 months, something that's new on the stage? What's catching your eye?
so I would say, for sure, technology. That's without a doubt. There's been an immense amount of investment from venture capitalists and procurement technology. The last 2 or 3 years, if I heard correctly, there were almost $1 billion of investment compared to barely, maybe 20 or 30 million in the prior 5, 10 years. So that tells you that there's a market, there's a need for technology, that it was already present for other functions, but not so much for procurement. So I would say automation for sure, AI, machine learning. So all stages of the end-to-end source to pay process have a technology. There is best of breed, niche, if you will, or some will call them microservices, whether it's contract management, risk monitoring, temp labor, tails spend management. Uh, there's all kinds of technology, and a couple of years ago, even a year and a half ago, they went very quickly from cool concepts to very profitable and robust companies that are growing and growing exponentially, and that is great. That being said, not all those technologies are equally mature. I think that sourcing was the first one to mature enough to be kind of have many different options. But I think that as they will keep evolving, they will keep fine tuning their products, and the demand for this and the adoption for these technologies will become more consistent as they fine tune their solutions, and as they get better and defining, measuring, and helping their clients to put together business cases to get the traction that they need to implement these tools. So that's one, and the second one, and it's not pandering. collaboration, what you guys are doing, the procurement foundry, TenureTalks, and that's, one of them. But the concept in general, you and Emma and Mike, what you guys are doing is incredibly helpful. I think it's something that I haven't seen before. Yeah, little attempts here and there, but you guys are doing something that is growing and growing. And it only shows that people are really willing to collaborate, to help each other, to share their expertise, to maybe mentor younger professionals that are cutting their teeth in the profession. So, everyone is willing to help if given the platform and the opportunity, which is exactly what you guys are doing. So it's fantastic.
Well, I really appreciate that, Martin. I think one of the things that drew me into procurement foundry is just that it's different. It offers something that's unique, and that's what we look for. So yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. And thank you so much for that. That's awesome. I'll pass it along. That's really nice. I appreciate it.
Sure.
So can you tell us one unique thing about you that maybe nobody else, especially in this space, would know about, other than motorcycles and being a musician?
Well, yeah. So that's one. Look, I'm very transparent. Everyone that work with me or in some capacity, they know pretty much everything about me. I don't have pretty much no secrets. So for things that are not in my resume, and quite frankly, I'm not sure it's going to help me at all. But hey, in the interest of transparency, having learned or studied piano for 10 years and learned with classical music, if you ask me what's my favorite music right now, it's country music and electronic music, deep house, progressive house, trance, that kind of music. I can do that all day long, which you wouldn't think, but it is what it is. Another thing that is definitely not in my resume, being from Argentina, I played soccer my entire life. I'm very, very competitive in nature, and I played many, many years in a competitive environment, sometimes recreational, but tournaments and whatnot. And I have to admit that I received many more red cards and got ejected from games many more times that I should admit, but it is what it is. So and the last one, I have plenty of tattoos, much more than my wife would like, which is none. But hey, that's me. I'm not not fitting the mold for sure.
Beautiful. Martin, you are just awesome. I love it so much. Oh, that is so awesome. Tattoos, he rides motorcycles. That is just awesome. Get thrown out of games.
Oh, many times. Oh, well.
I love it so much. So do they know you when you come into the stands? Are they like, watch out, Martin's coming in?
I'm not sure that's gonna help landing jobs, but hey, it's me. Again, as I said, I'm true to myself. I'm not trying to impersonate anyone, and it works so far. So I don't, there's no reason why it's not going to work in the future.
Well, it sounds like making no apologies has really helped you to reach the success you have. I mean, really, you own it. Like you said in the beginning of this interview, confidence is a big part of it.
Yeah.
So you make no apologies, you're confident, and that really helps to lead you to success. It really does. It makes a big difference.
For me, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. So what's that one piece of advice that you'd give to people that are wanting to claw up the ranks and maybe see some of the success that you've seen, especially in this space?
That's a good question. So a couple of things. So the first one, which sounds pretty obvious, but I haven't seen consistently when hiring younger talent, is give your best every time. Try hard. Kick yourself out of a comfort zone. Take any opportunities you're given and even ask for them. A lateral move, most of the times it's fine. It's great. Find something that you're passionate and you're good about, and tell it to yourself until you're ready to run through a brick wall. No one's going to do it for you. The second thing is never stop learning and be adaptable. The cycle times become shorter and shorter, whether it's tenure with the company, technology. So any any young professional will very likely work in 3 or 4 different companies within the next, few years, and that's great. But that involves that you'll have to learn, new culture, new products, new portfolios, new technologies, um, new processes, new policies, new people, uh, everything, and you have to learn that every 2 or 3 years. And the same thing with technology and everything else. If whatever is best of breed, world class right now, very likely will be obsolete 3 years out. So, again, never stop learning, educating yourself. The goal post or the end zone keeps moving farther and farther away, so you got to keep up. And I would say the other one is relationships and networking. They never underestimate the power of relationships and networking, whether it's if you're exploring a career move, whether you need some advice for a project or for something you're working on specific, or maybe you need just a sounding board for a concept that you have in mind. So people underestimate, and I did too. I mean, I'll be the person to admit it. So my advice is to dedicate enough time to cultivate your network and reciprocate as much as you can. It'll definitely pay off. 10x. That's for sure. And the last one, have fun, and I really mean it. Many companies, they like to talk about is, but when things go off the rails a little bit, then all the fun goes away very quickly. So really have fun. Don't take yourself or your job too seriously. And I try to do it myself. And hey, I think I did pretty good so far. So that would be my advice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I really needed that word today. That was great. Thank you so much for that. No, really, I really needed to hear that. So I appreciate you sharing that. It's amazing how sometimes you just meet people and they say things that you really need to hear. So I hope that anybody that's watching, that's wanting to claw up the ranks really listens and heeds your advice, because that's great advice, especially the end about having fun, because a lot of times we get so caught up with the day-to-day that we forget to just why we're doing it in the first place.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Martin. You really gave us a lot of great points, expertise, and advice, and we really appreciate it. And thank you so much for everyone that tuned in today. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and go out there and have a very blessed week.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Katie. I appreciate it, and it's been an immense pleasure.
Thank you so much, Martin.
Bye. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.